We're here with Matt Dillahunty of Atheist Experience. Matt, thank you for being here with us. Just had a debate. Wonderful. We all enjoyed it. Just wanted to ask you a few questions, just off the top of our heads. So you're an atheist. I'm a Christian. You just had a debate with a Christian, but yet afterwards you're talking, you're shaking hands, cordial. Why do you think that is? I mean, is there a misconception about how atheists should be treated or how Christians should be treated from atheists? What are your thoughts on that?
Having these discussions is often difficult because people take this to the core of their identity. And so sometimes there's going to be conflict and some people are going to get upset. I think in the debate format, even though I wish we could change the format and make it more of a discussion, there's a set of rules, there's decorum and all this other stuff, and people can get a moment to realize, I don't hate people who disagree with me. I'm not even I said I don't know how many times tonight, so it's not like I'm saying, oh, you're wrong. The discussions are important, and I think once people realize that, like I don't think there were too many people who were upset. I think people got something out of it, and that's what I want to see. So
going to that, what would you recommend? How can we get Christians? So again, you're a non-believer, I'm a believer, but yet we have a goal to at least get each other talking and having better discussions. What would you think we should implement or one should implement in order to get more fruitful discussions out of a theist, non-theist kind of a talk or debate or anything like that?
I'd like to see kind of the format of debates change just a little bit, because it's very easy to say something on either side in 30 seconds that would take an hour to rebut. So having a 20-minute opening with a 10-minute rebuttal, to me, feels kind of backwards, because it could have been the case, and I'm not complaining about the format. I enjoyed tonight's debate entirely, but it could have been the case that Braxton could have got up and said, hey, I think there's good reason to believe that the Christian God is real. And I could have got up and said, I disagree. And then let's just ask questions for a while, because now instead of having a prepared talk, or we're going to cite this person, or we're going to reference this study, now you're looking at how two people actually think, getting people off of a script, both theists and non-theists, off of a script and asking questions that prompts thought. And it gets people to realize that not having an immediate response, being willing to say, I don't know, when that's the right answer. I think it's the right answer way more than I or anybody else even gives it. I think that's as important as getting to the bottom of the God questions, because I'm not completely sure that we can get to the bottom of the God questions, which I think is a problem for your side. But it's really about having those conversations and realizing that there are people who I vehemently disagree with on issues, to the point where I don't want to associate with them. I have no interest in hanging out with white supremacists or anything like that. I don't even want to engage in debates on this topic. But I live in a world where the overwhelming majority of people are theists of some version. I was for more than 25 years. And getting people to have those conversations and realize that, okay, we can come to different conclusions and not necessarily be enemies. We may end up at odds on various political positions or whatever, but this is we can all do a better job of having conversations. I mess it up all the time. If you watch me on the Atheist Experience, it's different than the debate, and that's in part because there's 5 people waiting who may have a better argument. In this one, I'm up here with whoever, and we both have the goal of making this the best it can be for the people sitting out there. I think just seeing more of it will encourage more of it.
Last couple questions. What advice would you have to a young atheist who maybe wants to get involved in something like this? And then the other side of the coin, what advice would you have to a young aspiring apologist who would want to get into things like this?
It's the same for both of them. If you go into these things with the notion that you're right, they're wrong, it's time to show off how smart I am and how ridiculous you are, you're doing it wrong. If you go into these things with the goal of honestly having a conversation, pointing out why you don't agree, evaluating evidence, and acknowledging that we have a different conclusion, getting to the point where we diverge, because you and I both care about truth, Braxton and I both care about truth. At some point, things split, and on very rare occasions, like once or twice, I think I've identified where the split between myself and another specific individual occurred. But that's not the same place where you and I split. It's not the same place where Braxton and I split. Going into it with the goal of finding out that is probably even more important than finding out whether or not there's good reason to believe there's a God. And certainly, all of it's more important than, look how clever I am, and you silly little atheists, or you silly little Christians, let's just rah, rah, rah. That doesn't do anybody any good.
Last question. What would you say to someone who's a non-believer? This is the second time we've had you at an unapologetic conference. Would you recommend atheists to come to something like this? Do you think they should? Do you think they should stay away from it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have stayed tomorrow, except that I know what my motivations would be, and I was already at the last conference, which is actually where Braxton and I met. I went to his talk and listened to his. I go to churches far more often than atheists probably suspect that I do. And it's because if I'm on the TV show or if I'm up here representing something at a debate, I don't want to be going after a straw man. If I want to talk about what churches are actually teaching, then it's incumbent on me to actually go and listen. And it doesn't matter that I was in church Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, for years and years. I need to know what's going on now. And so if somebody has an interest in having these discussions, you should go to the American Atheist Convention. You should go watch the videos on my Atheist Debates thing, which are all about teaching how to have better conversations from both sides. And you should consider going to apologetics conferences, because I quite often find atheists arguing against ridiculous things. And if you're having a conversation with a Baptist and you start bringing up Catholic dogma about transubstantiation, their brain's going to shut off because they know you don't know what you're talking about. How can you possibly have a conversation about what somebody believes unless you're ready to listen to what they say they believe? I can't think of better options than, hey, I'm going to go pop in on an apologetics conference and see what I can learn. Take lots of notes. Expose them all as, it's fallacy, but at least you're learning something.